And welcome back, it's JWalter here. Despite an increase of housing inventory by nearly 11%, home sales in April fell to the lowest levels since the start of this pandemic. And according to the National Association of Realtors chief economist, he had this to say: higher home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates have reduced buyer activity. It looks like more declines are imminent in the upcoming months. This is according to a new report from the National Association of Realtors that was just released today at the time of this video, which is the 19th of May. So in today's video, I'm going to take a deep dive into what is really going on with our US housing market, because there's a lot of changes here that I want to share with you today. Also, before we get started, if you want a real estate agent referral in your neck of the woods, then go to homeandmoney.com/Jason to get connected with a great real estate agent in your neck of the woods. So with that said, let's begin today's video. And of course, if you guys get any value out of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. So again, this was just published today at the time of this video, which is the 19th of May. So existing home sales actually decreased by 2.4% in April. This is now the third straight month that the seasonally adjusted annual rate of home sales of 5.61 million have decreased. So sales in the US are down 2.4% compared to 1 month ago and are down 5.9% compared to 1 year ago. So on top of this, we're seeing slower demand or slower home buying demand, and inventory therefore of unsold existing homes actually climbed to 1.03 million as of the end of April. And because we're seeing a decrease in home buying demand, housing inventory, or the month supply of housing inventory, reached 2.2 months. However, home prices reached record high levels. The median sold price in April 2022 increased 14.8% on a year-over-year basis. Now the median sold price is just under $400,000. And by the way, the National Association of Realtors includes single-family houses, townhomes, condos, and co-ops for their existing home sale numbers. And like I mentioned, Lawrence Yoon, who's NAR's chief economist, said higher home prices and sharply higher mortgage rates have reduced buyer activity. It looks like more declines are imminent in the upcoming months and will likely return to pre-pandemic home sale activity. So in regards to home sales and also home prices, here's actually a table I pulled from their website here. So have a look at this. These are home sales of existing houses, which basically means home sales of houses that are not brand new. So existing home sales on a seasonally adjusted annual rate decreased to 5.6 million. As you can see here, this is the third consecutive decrease of home sales across the United States and have decreased compared to 1 month ago and also compared to 1 year ago, as you can see right here. So the sales pace right now, this is the annual rate. So at the current sales pace for April, if we were to continue that over the next 12 months, 5.6 million houses would be sold this year. When you compare that to April 2021, it was at 5.9 million, or just under 6 million. Also compared to 2021, we were at 6.1 million. So the current pace is at 5.6 million, far less than 2021, and about equal to 2020 when we had 5.6 million home sales. However, compared to 2019, which is obviously pre-COVID, we're still at elevated levels, over 300,000 houses more compared to 2019 at the current sales pace for April. The National Association of Realtors also breaks down home sales by region. So they have the Northeast, the Midwest, and the South and the West. So the biggest decrease on a year-over-year basis was actually in the Northeast. Home sales there decreased by 10.7% compared to 1 year ago, and all the major regions here decreased on a year-over-year basis. In contrast, though, we had some mixed results for home sales compared to 1 month ago. As you can see here, the Northeast and the Midwest had a slight increase compared to March's numbers. However, in the South, it decreased by 4.6%, and the biggest loser was actually in the West, a decrease of 5.8% in existing home sales compared to March of this year. So in regards to housing inventory, have a look at this. So housing inventory has actually increased for 2 consecutive months, as you can see here. So back in February 2022, we had approximately 850,000 unsold houses. And by the way, the National Association of Realtors includes pending home sales as well as active listings in their housing inventory numbers. So these numbers here would include pending home sales, which is why these numbers appear to be more elevated when looking at Realtor.com or Redfin's housing inventory numbers. In any case, as you can see here, housing inventory has increased for 2 consecutive months now. It's a big increase compared to 1 month ago by 10.8%. However, compared to 1 year ago, we are still down 10%. Meanwhile, the month supply has increased for 3 consecutive months. Back in January 2022, we were at 1.6 months and has steadily increased to now 2.2 months. What month supply basically means is that at the current sales pace, if no new listings were to hit the market, then all the houses listed for sale as of the end of April would be sold in 2.2 months. In order to have a more balanced real estate market, we need this figure to be in the range of 4 to 6 months. If we want to have a buyer's market where buyers have the advantage over home sellers, we need this figure to be over 6 months, but inventory has not been that high in many, many years. But it's still a positive sign that inventory has been increasing, giving more home buyers more options. And potentially, if this continues, it could potentially cool off this housing market further. All right, so changing gears slightly, let's talk about home prices overall in the US. So the median sold price in April reached an all-time high of $391,200. And by the way, the previous record high was actually set last month at $374,000. So big increase month to month. Also compared to 1 year ago, the median sold price has increased by 14.8% when the median sold price was at $340,700. Also right now, take a look at this because the median sold price right now basically is just under $400,000. Overall for 2021, it was $347,000. In 2020, it was just under $300,000. So basically home prices have increased approximately $91,000 in 2 short years, at least according to the median sold price. Also in 2019, pre-COVID, the median sold price was only $271,000 compared to $391,000 right now. Also, here's the breakout by region. Again, the Northeast, Midwest, South, and the West. So the Midwest actually had the most affordable houses. The median sold price was actually at $282,000. In the South, it's at $352,000. And as you can see here, the biggest gain was in the South at 22.2% increase compared to 1 year ago. So the median sold price right now, $352,000 compared to only $288,000 1 year ago. And going back to this report from the National Association of Realtors, total housing inventory, like I mentioned, is actually up 10.8% from March. So in 1 single month, housing inventory increased by 10.8%. That's pretty remarkable. It just goes to show that a lot of people are looking to get their house listed for sale in order to get the equity out of their houses due to favorable seller conditions and of course record high home prices as well. However, inventory is down 10.4% compared to 1 year ago. Inventory right now sits at a 2.2 month supply compared to 2.3 months compared to 1 year ago. So right now we're still at very low inventory levels, but obviously a positive sign that inventory has increased by 10.8%. One thing that's very important that I definitely want to bring to your attention though is that inventory tends to increase starting in the spring months all the way until the summer months. So it would not be unusual for housing inventory to increase as we progress into the summer months. However, take a look at this because I found this to be very interesting because this is a big increase compared to 1 month ago. So here's an article I found that was actually just published today at the time of this video. This is also according to the National Association of Realtors. And here's what they had to say because they actually looked at averages compared to February regarding housing inventory and what we're seeing right now. And what we're seeing right now is a big increase compared to normal levels. So here's what they had to say here. It says during the spring and summer months, the inventory of houses for sale typically increases. Inventory normally increases by 9% on average in April compared to February. So on average, we should expect housing inventory to increase by approximately 9% from February to April each year. However, this year, inventory rose even further by 21% in April compared to February. So right now, the rate is basically double the rate compared to what we normally should expect. Thus, these additional houses for sale may help potential buyers to find a house while mortgage rates are still historically low. But by the way, I mean, mortgage rates have increased approximately 2 percentage points in this year alone. So yes, we're still at historically low levels. However, rates have increased greatly, and that's definitely impacting home buyers. What I will say too is that, yeah, it's great we're seeing more inventory, giving more home buyers more options. However, we're not seeing home prices decrease just yet. So yes, we're going to be seeing more options. However, we're still at record high home prices though. And part of the reason why we're seeing record high home prices, of course, is this is a lagging indicator, but we're not seeing a huge increase of housing inventory, which would cool off home prices just yet. However, stay tuned on the channel though, and I'll definitely keep you posted. So NAR's chief economist said housing supply has started to improve, albeit at an extremely sluggish pace. Meanwhile, houses are still selling very quickly on average. So the average days on the market is at 17 days for April. And also 88% of houses that sold in April were on the market for less than 1 month. So if houses are priced right, they are still selling very quickly on average across the United States. However, of course, every housing market's different. What we're seeing right here may differ what you're seeing in your neck of the woods. First-time home buyers were responsible for 28% of all sales in April. That's actually down from 31% compared to 1 year ago. So it decreased by 3 percentage points. This number has been decreasing. As you can see here, in March it was at 30%. Now we're down to 28%. It appears that buyers are getting pinched out regarding this housing market because of record high home prices and of course rising mortgage rates, and more on that here in just a little bit. All cash sales accounted for 26% of all transactions in April. That's actually down from 28% compared to 1 month ago, but up from 25% recorded 1 year ago. So 26% of all the transactions in April were all cash sales. Meanwhile, individual investors or second home buyers purchased 17% of all the houses that sold in April. That's equal to the 17% we saw in April 2021. And of course, distressed sales, which are defined by foreclosures and short sales, are basically non-existent, representing less than 1% of all sales in April. Another very important factor at play here is that the average mortgage rate in April was obviously a lot less than we're seeing right now. So according to Freddie Mac, the average 30-year fixed rate mortgage was at 4.98% in April. That's actually up from 4.7% in March. So that could be one reason why we're seeing home sales decrease because mortgage rates have been increasing. However, April's numbers at 4.98% is still less than what we're seeing right now. So mortgage rates right now are around 5.5%. And let me share the latest data with you guys regarding that. So right now, according to the Mortgage News Daily, at the time of this video, the average 30-year is at 5.36%. 1 year ago is at 3.18%. That's an increase by 2.18 percentage points. And this week has been pretty unusual. We've been seeing rates going up and down, up and down. But the overall trend over the past week or so has been on a downward trend. So we reached basically not all-time record highs, but highs we have not seen since about 2008, when the average mortgage rate hit 5.64%, but has been decreasing more or less ever since then. Right now we're at 5.36%. And going back to home prices, according to Realtor.com, the largest year-over-year median list price growth, in other words, the average asking price that a home seller asked for their house, or the median price, actually occurred in Miami at 38.3% increase compared to 1 year ago. I mean, historically speaking, home prices tend to increase in the range of 3 to 5%, not 38.3%. Absolutely insane and definitely not sustainable. Las Vegas increased by 32.6%, Orlando 30.7%. Also interesting to note that Austin, Texas reported the highest growth in the share of houses that had price reductions compared to 1 year ago. In other words, the share of houses that get listed for sale and then the home seller reduced their asking price. That increased by 6.8 percentage points in Austin, Texas. That was followed by Las Vegas at 5.3 percentage points. And then Sacramento, where I live and work as a real estate agent, an increase by 4.7 percentage points. So I have some graphics to share with you guys regarding this latest report from the National Association of Realtors. But first, I want to share how home prices varied for single-family houses versus condos. So the median sold price for single-family houses in April was at $397,600. That's actually up 14.8% from April 2021. Compare that to condos, the median sold price was $340,000, an annual increase of 13.1%. All right, so before I wrap up this video, I want to share some graphics with you guys to give you some ideas about some trends in our housing market right now. So here is total existing home sales on a seasonally adjusted annual rate. So right now, as I mentioned, we're at 5.6 million, far less than the levels we've seen over the past 12 months. However, as you can see here, it's worth mentioning that right now, even though we've been seeing a decrease in home sales on a seasonally adjusted annual rate, we're still at levels we have not seen pre-COVID. So in 2018 and 2019, we're hovering around less than 5.5 million. Now we're at 5.6 million. Here's another mind-blowing graphic I want to share with you guys. On a year-over-year basis, total home sales have decreased now for 9 consecutive months. As you can see here, again, this is total existing home sales, and this is a percent change year over year. As you can see here, home sales have decreased for 9 consecutive months. But here's something that you should definitely be aware of though, because what happened in April 2021? Basically through June of 2021. Obviously, the percent change in home sales compared to 2020 was very elevated. So back in April through June of 2020, home sales absolutely tanked because of COVID lockdowns, right? So we had a big decrease year over year in 2020 compared to 2019, at least earlier on during this pandemic. And that's why we're seeing this big increase percentage-wise for home sales compared to April 2020 to June of 2020. So that's why we saw this big increase, or one of the reasons why we saw a big increase percentage-wise in 2021, which is another reason why we're seeing a big decrease this year, because when you compare 2021 to now, it's a little bit different when looking at numbers on a year-over-year basis, because we saw this big increase in 2021 because we saw a big decrease in 2020. So right now, I'm really more focused on month-to-month changes and not year-over-year changes. Here's another interesting graphic that I want to share with you guys before we wrap up this video. Here's the sales by price range. So as you can see, out of all the home sales in April, in the range of 250 to 500,000 for houses that sold in that range in April, that represented 42% of all houses. For $1 million plus, that only represented 8% of all home sales in April. In regards to home prices, another reason why we're seeing record high home prices is because we still see this imbalance between homes that sold above $1 million, for example, to houses that sold for less than $250,000. So here's the percent change in home sales from 1 year ago by price range. So as you can see here, houses that sold for less than $250,000 have basically fallen off a cliff, down about 30% year over year. In stark contrast though, look at the houses over 500,000. So in the range of 500,000 to 750, an increase by 18.5%, basically more or less the same percentage for this price range here. But houses over $1 million that sold in April, an increase by 16.3% compared to 1 year ago. So comment below with your biggest takeaways from today's video. Also, if you got any value out of this video whatsoever, then please hit the like button. I greatly appreciate that. Hope you have an awesome day and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.